Hi, this is Nick Inman from VolumeProfileTrader.com on Saturday, December 10th, and I felt like the weekend update that I put out last night, the two videos, they didn't have enough trading ideas for you. It was just more covering, basically what I've been covering for the last couple, I guess for the week or so, and I still believe in those trading ideas and my analysis for those, but I wanted to give you some more trading ideas. And basically in the prior videos, well, the ones with the trading ideas, I didn't zoom out to a daily time frame. I didn't give you an idea of what the daily time frame was doing. Not that it would disqualify anything from the time frame I showed you, but it's always good to zoom out and see what's going on the bigger picture. So I guess enough talking, and let's jump into the names that I wanted to cover. I have 15 names here, and I'm just going to knock them out as quick as I can because it's a lot of information. And starting with Caterpillar, this is a name that's reversed since 67.54, the lows of October. We've made a significant higher low from those lows in October. So this thing has already rallied $30 or so, and that's a really big move, and saying it's done that in a month's time or so, that that was the speed of the trade, I guess you could say, the time it took. And right now, current levels on Caterpillar, they're getting interesting, and the point of control for the year is at this 93.50 level, this 94 level, and it sticks out like a sore thumb relative to any of the other volume. And the most recent low we saw was basically a bounce off of this high volume area down sub 90, and we bounced off of there, and now we're forming a higher low and bouncing off of this point of control for the year. We are also, relative to the 50-day moving average, I'm going to zoom back in actually, you could say that this recent low bounced off the 50, moved higher. Now you can see this 200-day is the ceiling, and so we're in a range on Caterpillar. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's a name that you should shy away from. And I want to zoom into the 1 hour chart and show you what's going on there. And you can see still below December's point of control, and we're starting to trade above November's high volume area. You can see this 95 level for the last 2 months or so. It's been important. So I think Caterpillar is a name you can get involved in. I think you can put your stop right below the swing low from Thursday and start scaling in. And I don't think it's something that you should pile in up 3%. But I also believe it's something that you shouldn't shy away from, especially if the market continues to rally. So let's move on. ConocoPhillips, similar, in a way, a similar look. We definitely got a higher low. We bounced off the value area for the year. You can see the high volume. We bounced off of those levels. I'm going to zoom in some. So we got a bounce, and similar to Caterpillar, 200-day, it's generally capping this. You can see the high volume that tapers off after, $73 or so. And we've had trouble staying above those levels. Only 2 times have we traded above those, and the next trading day we failed. So I think this is something that you can scale into also and keep a stop right below Thursday's intraday low, right below $70 or so. And as far as the intraday time frame, okay, I can't get the intraday chart to load, so I'm not really, I promise you it looks good. But so just moving on, Devon Energy, and this is a name that I haven't really been trading this name, more Chesapeake, and this name looks poised for a turnaround. You can see we had a very nice day, outperforming the market, up 4% yesterday. I think this is a name you can get involved in. I think you can have a stop right below the 50-day moving average, right below 62.90. And I don't think you should necessarily pile in here, but I think you should have a placeholder position, and realize that this thing, it's coming from $93, so it's basically been cut in half throughout the year, and there's there's a lot of pain in this chart from the people who have bought, and basically if they haven't sold yet, they're probably crazy, but there's a lot of regret in this chart, and there could be a lot of selling pressure. But given the fact that it has been cut in half, I'm sure most of the selling has taken place. And how do I know that? Well, we're seeing a turnaround here. So sure, we're still way below the 200-day moving average, but you can see there's no volume up at between $70 and $76. So if this gets going, we should have a trade up to $75 pretty easily, and it's just something you want to keep your eye on. Now Monsanto, this is a name that I've been covering, and it's just in a cluster, and there's no way around that. But where we're bouncing off the 200-day moving average, off the point of control support, and if you can just look at the other video for this weekend to see what this is looking like on an intraday time frame, it looks pretty good. So this is a name that maybe you want to be involved in, and I think it makes sense right here, right now. You can have a stop just below these levels, around $69 or so. News Corp, and this name looks like it's going to break out to the upside. It continues to trend higher after its major low in August, and it didn't make a new low with the S&P, or I should say with the rest of the market, in October. Rather, it made a higher low. We had a higher low in December, and now we're really on the verge of breaking out. I think you can own this stock with a stop under $17, so not a ton of risk to the downside. And if we break this, generally speaking, $18 to $18.35 range, it's off to the races and probably straight to $20. And remember, this is a pretty slow moving stock, so it's not a bad choice. Oracle's been, they have HP's CEO on their team now, so there's a lot of positive going on in Oracle, and you can see the huge high volume area bottoming out around, call it $31. You can see we're bouncing off those levels, and that's generally speaking the range we're in. We want to see Oracle hold those levels and place a stop right under around 34.50, 34.40 on the downside, and play for more upside in Oracle for potentially a potential breakout back towards the 2011 highs. United Health, this is a name that's performed relatively well compared to the rest of the market. It's a slower mover, but we've had nice bottoms here. What you call it a triple bottom, whatever you want to call it. But the point is, we're forming a higher base right here, right at the point of control for the year. You can keep a stop under the 200-day moving average, and I know, looking at this, you're like, come on, man, 200-day moving average, it's slicing right through price. Well, I see that, but you could also make the argument that we have a downtrend, and we're really starting to break it. So it looks like this has potential to move back up towards $52 to $54 on the upside. Weyerhaeuser, or however you pronounce it, this is in the tree business, and this name, or I should say this stock, it's really been trying to find a base between, call it $16 and really $17.75. And you can see, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see, we've pierced both of these levels, each time, but generally speaking, it's been right to be a seller around $17.75, $18. It's been right to be a buyer around $16 and below. So what we're seeing since October is a higher low, and basically, we had a higher high in November, but we're really just bouncing around right at this point of control for the year. 50-day moving average starting to point up, 200 still moving straight down. So this is a name that you could get involved in with an upside push up towards $18.50, $19, and this is just like some others that we've looked at. It's a slow mover, and a $1.50 move on a $17 stock still isn't a bad move. So I think this name could do relatively well on any market performance. And Xerox now. This is a name, and it's just based off of technicals. It kind of looks like the previous stock we just looked at, and no, I'm not going to draw the trend line like that. But you can see the top that we're experiencing around $8.50, and you can see the biggest volume price is around $8. We're holding that level. I think this is a name. It doesn't look as good as the others, but considering the move it's had, if the market starts to catch a bid, this should as well. And this thing has zero volume between $8.50 and $9.50. So this thing could push back up towards $10. The resistance, people look at the 200-day moving average. It's eventually going to collide with price, and when it does so, we're going to have to see how it reacts, but it doesn't look too bad. Alright, Amazon. This is a name that a lot of people have become negative on, but excluding looking at the numbers, Amazon looks, I love the company. I think there's nothing, there's more growth in the company. They dominate, absolutely dominate online retail, and with this whole idea of basically content providing, I think they're in a position to really battle Apple, battle the iPad in taking market share and basically expanding their business. One thing that's very interesting is the current levels that Amazon's trading at. This $181, you can see the big volume, and it tapers off, and you can see that has been support. So we also see some high volume. This is kind of the top of the range, and you can see it's topped off. It's been support, now it's resistance. If Amazon continues to hold these levels, and especially the 186 level, this thing could push back up towards 210, 215. It's the value area high for the year. It's also this high volume area. You can see the 50-day moving average moving down, the whole moving average moving down. It's below the 200-day moving average. So it's definitely range bound with a downside bias, but considering it's holding this support level, this huge volume level, and Amazon being the king of online retail, I still think this is a name that could do relatively well, though the uptrend, well, I guess even so, it's made a higher low relative to here, but the uptrend is definitely in trouble. And I typed in the wrong name. Okay, Blizzard, this is a company that makes games, and it had a huge run up to $14 and basically sold off immediately. Is there a lot of pain in this chart? Yeah, look, all the people who bought here thinking that this thing was going to, bazillion. That you just have to realize the expectations of stocks, and look how far this. Let me zoom in. Look how far this has reached above the 50-day moving average, and when it came down hard. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 huge selling days in a row, surpassing basically any hope for this range to be to hold. And when we broke down below that, it was it was pretty negative for the stock. However, we are back at the $12 level. We held the 200-day moving average. Now we're holding the point of control. And now we're looking to see if this thing can push back up towards $13. And for a $12 stock, that's not a bad move. On a lot of these names, for example, Activision, Weyerhaeuser, I'm sorry, however you pronounce the name, or News Corp, these are great covered call writing names, and if you don't know about, writing covered calls, maybe it's something that you should check out, look more into, learn how to do them, because it's a great way to, pocket some income on slow-moving stocks at opportune times. So, just like the names I just mentioned, I think Activision, I think the downside is limited, and I think you can place your stop right below Thursday's intraday low, and it may, trade around here for a little bit. So maybe another thing that you could do is sell the $12 puts, expiring in January. Alright, Celgene, this is a name that I've covered for, I think I've covered it a few times in the past couple of weeks. And, I've been talking about how this name, well, relative speaking, it's made higher lows and higher highs, and now we're sitting at the point of control support. We're sitting at 200-day moving average moving up. Sure, the 50 days moving average is moving down, but it was moving down here, and it ended up being a great buying opportunity. So the 50-day really hasn't been too relevant, and I think this is a name you can get involved in. It's at 63.58, up nearly 4% from Friday. So it's tough to buy it right here, right now. But on any weakness, this name looks good with a stop right around 59. Alright, Checkpoint Software. This is a part of the NASDAQ 100. This has, it's definitely outperformed the market. We see a double top from basically, late July and October. So, right when the market started selling off, Checkpoint got brought down with the market to the 200-day moving average, where it was a buying opportunity, retested that $61 level, and back down to this 200-day moving average, up 3%. Another name that I think you can put your stop right below recent swing lows around $52, and look for some upside towards 58, maybe even back towards 61. This name looks pretty good. Alright, the infamous Yahoo, and a lot of people have been playing this for basically a takeover and buying upside calls and failing, but I don't think it's a name you should take off your radar, because I think this will eventually play out. There'll eventually be, I'm comfortable saying that Yahoo will be at higher levels than 1594 by next year, and the reason why is because basically they're still a big company, and other companies want their their client base, their information, their product, and that bodes well for Yahoo and the stockholders. So looking at what's going on here, I guess maybe you can say you have on a bigger term time frame, you have a week long, or not a week long, a multi-month long you had your multi-week long bull flag or whatever, and I zoomed out to a monthly chart just to give you an idea. Obviously volume profile shows you the obvious. This isn't a range, but look at the upside potential. The last high volume area was up towards $25 or so, and you can see the point of control. We're sitting above those levels now. Frankly, looking at this monthly chart, this looks like a right here, right now opportunity, and I think it's a name that you should be involved in and give yourself some upside potential. So you can see on the daily chart for the year, we have this big high volume area, and we're holding those levels, and we've pierced through them some, but we should trade up to 17 sooner rather than later, bouncing off the 50-day moving average. The 200-day, it's going to eventually start, if price stays above it, it will eventually start, turning up. So this name looks good, and Yahoo could be a potential for the mid-120s. And the last name I want to cover is Apple, and I don't remember if I covered Apple for the weekend update. But what I wanted to show was, Apple bouncing off the 200 from late November. We talked about that. We were all over it. And what I find interesting now is, Apple's just sort of in a, small consolidation phase, and Apple has this tendency to trade sideways for a while and then break out to the upside. So, I just feel like Apple's one of those names that you need to have on your radar and stay involved with regardless. A lot of people have gotten negative and feel like it's necessary to short the stock. The time to short the stock was in November when price broke down from the point of control, from the November's point of control, that $400 level. We were all over it, and now in this reversal, we need to push above 395, 400, which we're having trouble with right now. But if we do, we shouldn't have a problem going back towards 410 or so, and then ultimately trying to test the 430 level. So overall, if you're positive the market, or you feel like this market can go higher, which I feel like it can, any European news can crush this thesis, and I think it's something to be aware of. I think it's you should always manage your risk and know the amount of dollars you have at risk on any given day, but allow the market to do what it's going to do, and don't try to fight it. If the market's going to go higher, it's much easier to just be a part of it and let the market do what it's going to do. Trail your profits, and realize that the market's not going to go to a bazillion, but it's not going to go down to zero either. So I hope this helps. I hope it gives you a few trading ideas, shows you how volume profile works, and I'll see you on Monday.